Hey, what is up guys, Guitar here, welcome back to another Blue Archive video. Now, as of the time of me recording this video, we still have the 6% fast banner going on right now, with the Rio's banner, of course, running alongside with a uniform Neru and of course swimsuit Hanako right here. So let's talk a little bit more about this, because I think a lot of you guys have been asking me, hey, should I go in and do more pulls? Should I try to save for the next character? And hopefully in this video we can clear things up for a lot of players that are trying to save, or who should you save for if you're talking about the meta students coming next. First things first, right now there's a special coupon code for the special content release celebration coupon. I hope you guys are aware of this. It should be pinned below in the comment section or in the description, so feel free to use that. So that is going to give you 600 pyros. If you guys are not aware how to use it, you go to account right here, right? You just go to the coupon. Alright, this is on Steam obviously. Also, if you guys are not aware, if you go right here, they are also giving you additional 300 pyroxenes because their Instagram recently reached 10k followers. So that's quite a number of free gifts, and I do appreciate that, right? If you guys want to follow Blue Archive on Instagram, if you guys happen to use Instagram, feel free to do so. So right now you can see we're getting 600 right there, we're getting another 300 right here. Alright, there's plenty of stuff given to you. Just gotta log in and claim all of this, right? Make sure you guys are aware of that. 950 pyroxenes just by doing nothing, literally. Okay, so let's talk about everything that's happening in this particular game. Let's talk a little bit more about upcoming banners. Alright, so right after the fast banner leaves on 22nd, alright, that is going to come in about 3 days later, we are going to get a couple of new students, and I'm sure you guys are aware by now, compared to the JP one, global schedule is a little bit rushed. Alright, so we got Camping Kotama right here, we got Camping Hair, and then we got Himari and of course Swimsuit Amy. 4 students based upon this. Of course, there's also going to be Camping Maki as well. Alright, not to mention, so we got all of these. Camping Maki is going to be a new student. Everyone else is going to be the rerun pretty much, right? So we need to talk a little bit more about this, because first things first, our banners are more rushed. If you compare this to the JP banners, alright, let's look at this, right? In JP, right after Swimsuit Hanako, they basically get Himari and Swimsuit Amy first. You can see the dates right here. And then Camping Maki and the camping students literally come 1 week after. But in global, we are getting all 5 at the same time. So literally, you can see this is going to be the rush effect. They are trying to rush the banners on global. We have been told that they are trying to synchronize and trying to reduce the 6 months gap to 3 months gap, and this is how they're going to be doing it. Now, if you guys are trying to save, I understand that it's going to be a little bit taxing. Now, who should you get in this particular banner? I think the meta students, I'm sure all of you guys are aware, is going to be Himari and Camping Hair right here. Let's talk a little bit about Camping Maki as well. So first up, Himari is a character right now that you can see. She's somebody that boosts attack 105%. Really high attack percent boost. Very insane. If you're looking for an attack buffer, she also has cost recovery by 20%. So this is going to be Himari's highlight. Pretty much, she is going to be, in most cases, what you want if you're running a meta team last year. But this year, things have changed ever since Kisaki appears, because Kisaki is going to take the role of basically managing in terms of improving EX skill damage. So you have that particular one going into her, and that's going to make Kisaki much more meta. The sub skill is going to be the same, ally cost recovery. And you cannot stack this particular one as well. Keep in mind, if you have 2 students with the ally cost recovery, it doesn't become 40%. So you can only use 1 student. That's where Himari gets kicked out by Kisaki. Kisaki comes in, and then she is going to increase EX skill damage dealt by 80%. Now, how about attack buffers, right? So if you take out Himari, now you don't have attack buffers. That is where this student comes in, right? So if you guys are not aware, there's a reason why a lot of the meta is going to be revolved around this camping character. Alright, so Camping Hair right here, she's a 2-cost character that can give you 80% attack boost. And that's going to be pretty much how it is. She's the one that will provide the attack percent generally. However, the meta has now switched again, alright? So in the JP meta, this particular character is getting less and less used. Now, why is that? There's a new character right now. If you guys did obtain her, and I hope you guys do, Rio. She is going to be the meta, and she's going to change things pretty much for a lot of players. Alright, so except for the current rate right now, which is Gebura, we don't really use Rio right there, right? Because that one is a little bit special. We need special students to basically do damage. But in most other normal circumstances, most other normal rates, you are going to run Rio alongside with Kisaki. Now, Rio, if you guys are not aware, she already give attack percent buffs, alright? Right here, 51.4%. Now, for those of you who are not aware, buffs in Blue Archive, they do not stack. So you cannot put an attack percent buff with another attack percent buff, alright? You cannot put two of them together. They basically will cancel out one or the other, right? So basically, if your characters have 80% attack buff, you go and buff the student with Rio, it will remove the 80% attack buff and then apply the 51%, right? Now, Rio is going to be able to... Her attack percent buff is not as high, right, compared to Himari or the others, but 51%, and she also gives you one cost less, and she also basically duplicates the EX skill card. So she does way more, and in most normal situation where you're trying to tackle a lot of raids moving in the future, it should look something like this in your special student slot, right? You are going to have the special students right here, one Kisaki and one Rio, and this is going to be pretty much the meta. And then you have Dress Hina, or whatever DPS that you have depending on the element, and then you have one healer depending on if you need it or not, right? So your healer will have to be in the striker slot, so that's where Koharu's value is going to increase significantly, and then characters like Idol Mary depending, right? And then you have somebody that gives you either cost regen or gives you a little bit of the buff for that particular element. Now, who is going to be right here in this particular slot? Obviously, it's not going to be camping hair anymore. It is going to be Dress Aru. Now, this is going to be a very, very important one, and I hope players are aware of that. Dress Aru is going to be able to provide you that crit damage buff. Let me see if I can find her in my inventory. And she is going to basically be the one to basically complete the entire combo. So you got the attack percent buff for Rio, you got the crit damage percent buff from Dress Aru, and then you have Kisaki in that particular case. This is going to be pretty much the go-to staple. Of course, it's still going to depend on the boss, and of course, if you don't want to run this team, you can still run Himari and stuff and the other team, but ideally, if you're talking about the top meta, this is going to be how it is, which is very, very important to be taken into consideration if you guys are trying to pull any of these students, right? I do think right now, if we are talking about any of these students, you no longer need them, sadly, if we are talking about meta. Now, there are going to be some situation, I am aware, that if you're trying to do Torment, Lunatic, and you need to do 2 or 3 teams, yes, if in that case, the value is still there if you're trying to do that. But for a lot of students, for a lot of players, if you're trying to do Insane with one team, that is going to be the meta team as per follows, right? So for a lot of players, my recommendation is actually to skip all of this banner. Alright, even camping Maki right here, what can she do? She's an explosive character, she's a special student, alright? Again, she is going to be someone that deals 1600% damage to one enemy. It is going to help with shield, alright? So increase explosive efficiency right there, and of course increase critical damage. She's okay for someone like Gebura, I guess, but she's literally coming right after Gebura is going away. Gebura is going to rerun again in the future, but there's going to be better options for that. Satsuki, you know, and a few others. But I guess camping Maki can be used if you don't have Satsuki and if you want to consider getting. But for a lot of players, my recommendation is to completely skip out this particular banner right here. Alright, so right after all of this banner, we are going to get Casual Sena and Part-Timer Juri alongside with the Christmas rerun students. Alright, so that's going to be what it is. Now the truth is, in my humble opinion, these students, these two particular one can be skipped as well. They are not super meta. Casual Sena, as you can see, she's a healer, alright, a striker healer, but she's a Sonic type character for now. So she heals continuously in a circular area over a couple of period of seconds. Now the problem is her cost can be a little bit expensive, but if you're looking for a healer in your Fury of Set or the pretty much in that particular area, then maybe she could serve that role, but we already have plenty of other students that can do that, right? Every 40 seconds, she increases her healing and attack speed right there. Alright, increase attack by 26%, right there is going to be quite good. Right here you can see, normal attack damage radius is increased, but attack deals 83.8% damage, so it deals a little bit less damage than per usual. Now she's not super meta as far as I'm aware. If you're looking to just get like some sort of healer, you could probably get away with getting her, but for a lot of players, I feel like you should consider saving. The value that she provides is not going to be that high. Not going to be too far from Koharu, I would say, right? If you have Koharu at 3 cost as a healer, you probably can get away with that in most general content. How about Juri then? So Juri part-timer, very, very interesting. Big fan of Juri. I'm glad that she gets an alt version, but sadly, she is going to be much more of a tank, and she is going to be a mystic striker that stays in front. As you can see, she's a 3 cost. She does damage to one enemy, and you can see she also does continuous chill damage and inflicts fear. A little bit of CC, a little bit of DOT, and a little bit of focus damage towards one enemy. The problem is she's much more of a tank, so her damage is not going to be super high, alright? Every 45 seconds, increase recovery rate of self, and of course ally with the lowest HP as well right here. Also, she can increase HP by 26.6%, and the sub skill is going to be recovery when inflicted with CC, crowd control, right? Now, is any of these 2 students like a must-have? In my opinion, no. You can get away with not having Senna casual. You can get away with not having Juri part-timer. I would say for every single player, if you want to, just try to get them off your, off banner in the next upcoming banners. These 2 students are standard anyways. So what comes after next is going to be the Christmas rerun, like I mentioned, and then the New Year students. Now this is where it gets interesting. I feel like if you are going to pull for one student, and if you can afford to, I feel like I'm going to recommend everybody to pull for New Year Fuuka. New Year Fuuka is going to be a limited student. If you don't get her, you have to wait 1 whole year for her to come back, alright? Alongside with that, we got New Year Izumi, which is going to be added to the standard banner, and New Year Haruna as well. But the highlight is going to be New Year Fuuka. She's the most useful character by far. Now, if you guys are not aware already, New Year Fuuka, she is going to have a similar role, unique to the point that right now, no one ever competes with her in her role, right? So she is going to be a character that reduces EX skill cost by 50%. Now, you might be arguing, okay, but Ui or even someone like a Seiya, which recently appears, can also do what she can do, right? To that extent, I would say yes, but she's the only special student that can do this, alright? So pretty much those other 2 students are going to be striker students. So it is going to be a little bit different. She's 2 cost as well, and she also gives crit damage, as you can see, right? Very, very good buffs. In most cases, for example, certain characters like Dress Hina works better with New Year Fuuka, alright? So she can also give you shield, she has increased healing, and right here she can also increase ally attack. So she's a very flexible character overall. For a lot of players that do have her, in some situation, remember earlier I did mention that Kisaki and Ryo is pretty much going to be the standard. For trying to be a fixed slot in the meta special slot, there are going to be some situations where Kisaki and New Year Fuuka is going to be the students that you need in certain specific rates. So I would say New Year Fuuka comes really close in that particular slot as well. So I highly recommend you guys to get her. She's a limited student, and she's probably one of the strongest one in the game as well, right? So how about in this case New Year Izumi, because she is going to be new. New Year Izumi, she is going to be much more of a support explosive character. She's a special type as well. So what she does is she gives a little bit of heal, 144% healing, alright? But for that high cost of 5, which is going to be a little bit expensive. Now she also gives increased attack as well. This is going to be very interesting, 34%. Again, I feel like you don't really need that because we already have Gotama and of course a few other students that can do that, like Guide Tsubaki and things, right? Her normal skill, alright, throws this particular thing to one ally and increase critical rate by 37.7%. If there's another ally, alright, the Kagami Mochi will bounce in the direction, apply the effect again, and can stack to 6 times it seems like, right? And her sub-skill increase healing received by all allies by 17.3%. So overall, decent character, but again, she's going to be much more of a healer. New Year Fuuka should be the priority. Now, if you want to get her as a second student, you can do so. But I do recommend a lot of players to try to get New Year Fuuka. I highly recommend. She's probably going to be the next meta student after the current fast banner. Alright, she makes the most sense. Now, right after New Year Fuuka, you can see we are going to have 2 new students, alright, Sumair part-time, and of course, Rei. Now, these 2 students, again, not incredibly crazy meta. We got, as you can see, she's going to be a piercing type right here for Sumair. She's also a special student. She is going to be a damage dealer, alright, 3 costs, deals 402% damage to one enemy, and she applies this thing called the weak point expose debuff for 20 seconds. When attack an enemy with this debuff takes additional damage equal to 13.2% of Sumair's part-time attack. So this one will end after 240 hits, but the damage cannot be critical. So it is going to be a little bit niche in that particular area, but if you're looking for some sort of additional damage debuff on the enemy, maybe this can be something that you could try to apply. But as far as I know, she's not super meta either. Her normal skill, when you deal 100 critical hits, increase critical damage of 4 allies by 15.1%, and you can see her passive increase by 26.6%. Last but not least, the sub skill increases critical damage or penetration damage type allies by 24%. Alright, so decent overall. And then we got Ray that appears alongside with her as well. She is going to be a striker student that is a Sonic character. So what is she all about? As you can see, she's a 4-cost AoE character, deals 401% damage to enemies within the circular area. When 4 enemies are defeated, increase attack speed, and she can also increase critical rate here. Alright, so every time you basically defeat an enemy, she get this thing called the out thing, right? When you get 3 out, reduce own skill cost by up to 3 for 1 use of EX skill. It's going to give her a decent Sonic efficiency. I guess if you're looking for an AoE character for Sonic type, she could be an option. But let's all be honest here, nobody is going to come even close to the best girl ever in doing Sonic DPS, Swimsuit Hanako, right? Like, doesn't matter what she gets, Swimsuit Hanako at 2 costs is just way better. Alright, so you can see even the multiplier is higher. So I don't see how she is going to compete right there in that department. Now sure, if you want to go second team, third team, fourth team, fifth team, but I feel like right now for the Sonic AoE characters, we got Ichika, we got Kasumi, there's Kikiao, there's quite a lot of students right there in that space. So I don't see how she is going to be the one that a lot of players are going to try to use. I guess she's okay, she's alright, but if you're looking for Sonic efficiency characters, Swimsuit Hanako is going to be the one that you want to go with, right? The staple. So right now, these two students, I highly recommend players to try to skip them, because right after then, this is where it gets interesting. We got Dress Saori, we got Dress Aru, we got Dress Kayoko. Alright, so let's talk about these 3 students, because I think this is going to be a very important one. Now the one that you want to pay attention to is Dress Aru, because like I mentioned, she is going to be pretty much the staple, especially if you're running the Ryo with Kisaki combo. Dress Aru is going to complement that particular combo, because Dress Aru gives you something that the team don't have, which is crit damage buff. Alright, she gives quite a lot of crit damage buff right there, 83%. Alright, it is going to be a very, very strong character. If you're looking for a striker student that can give crit damage buff, there's only going to be Dress Aru and Dress Ako. Now, Dress Ako is a limited character. She is also going to be much more expensive, right? You can see she's a 5-cost student and she gives crit rate and crit damage 57.5%. But Dress Aru only gives critical damage, alright, 83% right here, which is going to be what it is. But in most cases, this is going to be more than enough if you're trying to make sure that your character can crit. Someone like Mika, who has guaranteed crit, is going to be able to benefit from this a lot. I highly recommend you guys to get her. She's going to make a lot of rates much more smoother, although you might have to do a little bit of crit fishing here and there. She can also heal another ally with the lowest HP for 151% of healing. She can increase attack, and I like that she has the ability to reduce critical resistance of the boss by 15%. It might not sound like much, but this can be very, really useful, especially for a boss with high critical resistance. I think Gauss has that as well, right? So keep in mind that's going to be important. In my opinion, she's probably going to be the most meta out of the 3. Now, how about the other 2, right? Now, Dress Kayoko, I feel like she's really in a very, very tight space, alright? What do I mean by tight space? She's a single target, piercing DPS, alright? That means she is competing with someone like Mika. Even right now, we got Uniform Neru, which is like a better version of her. And recently, we got Pajama Noah as well, which is also, in my opinion, like a better version of her. Now, if you think that she's, you want to pull her for waifu and stuff, I think she's going to have some sort of situation where she could shine, but I think it's quite difficult to utilize her maximum effect. The reason why is because she has this ability that is an infiltration mode, right? So she has to have the infiltration mode to be able to make sure that this attack is a guaranteed critical hit. So you want to benefit from this particular skill, right? Now, how do you get the infiltration mode? Is basically your character cannot get attacked for 10 seconds, alright? You enter infiltration mode. If your character stays there, constantly firing at the enemy without getting hit Now a lot of boss, they do AoE attacks, right, like Bina and stuff, right? Some boss can basically just, you know, do massive damage everywhere. They might or may not do like fatal damage, but you're gonna get hit sometimes, right? And it is going to be very, very situational. There are some bosses that you can get away with not benefiting, you know, from this buff. In most cases, you do get 63% more critical damage if you are able to enter the infiltration mode. But I do think that this is going to make it very, very difficult for you to basically strategize, right? And also, like I mentioned, Dress Nehru is right now, right there in the fast banner. I'm sure a lot of you guys have Dress Nehru. She's pretty much a, in my opinion, a better piercing type student if you're looking for a single target character, right? So that's going to be how it is. But what about Dress Saori? Dress Saori, probably going to be very interesting. She's a Sonic DPS character, as you can see right here. Now she shines in doing a lot of damage in a circular area, alright? Now Dress Saori is meta if you're looking to tackle Tifaret, which is going to be a final restriction boss later on, alright? In the higher levels, alright? You can, or you sort of have to use her in a way, but it is going to be a little bit expensive right there. You can sort of borrow, but as you can see, she is pretty much going to be used in the final restriction boss. As far as I know, that's going to be where she shines. Now, if you want to pull her for that particular reason, sure, but I think most players would prefer to pull either for Total Assault, Grand Assault, etc, right? So that's going to be something to consider as well. So she's not too bad of an option, but for a lot of new players, I think you should definitely skip her and consider borrowing instead. When 8 enemies are killed, acquires a skill cost 2.17 and gain battle sense, right? Can be used 3 times per battle. That's going to be very, very interesting. And you can see right here, increase attack speed according to the number of battle sense acquired. This is going to increase the attack speed by 100%. Very, very interesting. I feel like if you're looking for a Sonic AoE, she could be an option. But out of these 3, the highest value is going to go to Dress Aru. She's probably going to be the one that you want to look out for right after New Year Fuuka. Alright, I still think that New Year Fuuka is a priority, but if you already have New Year Fuuka, you can definitely consider Dress Aru. Now, right after this, right, you can see we got Saori, we got Aru, we got Kayoko dress version, and then we got Rumi and Mina, right? These 2 are reruns. I don't think any of these students are probably worth your hard-earned gems or pyroxenes. I don't know if they will combine these 5 to or not at the same time. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. It's hard to say for sure. But now we have the meta student right after. 2 limited students, the Shupogaki twins, we got Hikari and Nozomi. Now a lot of people have been asking me, I think like this is going to be where you want to consider, alright? So the main 3 highlights for a lot of players are going to be either the Shupogaki twins, alright? New Year Fuuka or Dress Aru. Now Dress Aru, I can see why players might want to skip her because she is not a limited student. I understand from that perspective. You want to try to get her next time, maybe like spook her in some other banners. Maybe you can do that, right? But New Year Fuuka is going to be the limited. If you don't pull for her, it is going to be a hurry run. You will have to wait 1 whole year. But these 2 students again are also limited. Now we can talk a little bit more about this. Now, in my opinion, you should try to get both of these students because they are going to be the one that I think is going to be the highlight in the JP server, constantly being used a lot. So let's talk about Hikari first. Alright, Hikari is going to be the support. Alright, Nozomi is more like a DPS character. So in my opinion, if you can pull only 1, let's say you get super unlucky, right? This is not a 6% mana, so there's a chance that you can go to 200 and you just don't get them. If you can only pull 1, I will probably lean a little bit towards Hikari, but you know, let's talk about the skill kit first. She is a Sonic Striker, alright? So very, very interesting. So where she shines is she gives you Sonic efficiency of 1 other ally by 92%, alright, for 2 costs. So just think of her like a New Year Kayoko, but for Sonic type, alright? You guys know how valuable New Year Kayoko is, 2 costs, but she buffs like Mystic students, right? But in this case, we buff Sonic efficiency. If the target can consume additional EX skill costs, reduce the additional consumption cost of EX skill by 2 for 1 EX skill. Very, very interesting right there. She can also help reduction if the EX skill can be reduced or consume additional consumption. Now, When 3 departure signals are acquired, all departure signals are consumed to add 29% sonic efficiency to all striker allies for 25 seconds. You can see right now, she even have one more added benefit of this particular one. Very, very good right there. Increase HP by 26.6%. And how do you get the departure signals? When other ally uses EX skill, either 4 or 2 times in this case if you max out this particular skill. Yeah, if you max out this particular skill to level 10, 2 times upon activation of that skill, increase attack speed and you gain 1 departure signal. So basically you need to gain 2 times 3 of these, alright, 6 times of other EX skill allies to be able to get this particular thing overall, right? Departure signals can stack, alright, 3 times. Very, very good support, alright? She's probably going to be one of the best Sonic support in the game. Now, she's not a universal support, alright? She's not like Kisaki, where you're gonna use her everywhere. She's not like Rio, where you're gonna use her everywhere. You probably are going to only use her when you're fighting against a Sonic type boss. Now, that is going to make her like a 1 tier below those universal buffers. If I have to pick one, I think New Fuuka will have a higher value because New Fuuka is somebody that you can use in every single boss. Whereas for Nozomi specifically, you're probably only going to use her in a Sonic type boss. But I still think that you should try to get her because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Because right now, Sonic boss, we don't have much of them, and I have a feeling we are leaning towards the direction that Blue Archive or developers Nexon is going to try to add more and more Sonic type bosses. I do think that she's probably going to be a safe investment, one of the best in that category right now. So how about Nozomi? Nozomi right here, as you can see, she's a Sonic striker attacker. She's going to be an AoE attacker. Right here you can see she is a 4-cost character and she does 1000% damage to a targeted enemies and 147 damage to other enemies within a linear area. So she hits in a straight line pretty much. Additionally, she can also consume up to 2 costs to increase damage dealt by 25% for every extra cost paid. So these two works very well together because you can see Hikari is the character that basically ignores the 2 costs for Nozomi, right? So you can see how they work together and basically complement each other. So in that particular sense, yes, you are now going to help each other out, and the 4 costs instead of consuming extra costs will always be 4 costs if you buff her. Now every 12 normal attacks increase Sonic efficiency 53%, very, very good. And she also can increase her attack right here, and all attacks are guaranteed to be critical hits, which makes her one of the best DPS in the game. Now if anyone can compete with Swimsuit Hanako, it is this girl right here, Nozomi. Alright, so if you are looking for one character to compete with Swimsuit Hanako in the Sonic space, I feel like it's going to be her because she can pretty much crit hit all the time. She can also increase her own attack speed by 25% and critical damage by 25%. Very, very broken if you are looking for a student, right, to basically complement with her. Remember I mentioned earlier, Dress Aru is a character that gives you a lot of crit damage. Pairs really, really well with her as well. So that's going to be pretty much what it is, right? I still think right now, if you are going to pull, Hikari and Nozomi is going to be the one that you want to look out for. Now, how long before they appear, right? So right now, we are in the month of July. Now, according to my Discord pin message right here, if you calculate everything, again, the things might change 1 week or 2, but we should be getting Hikari and Nozomi in around September. Alright, end of September is going to be where it is. So July, August, September, you got about 2 months to try to save it up. But New Year Fuuka is going to be the important one. So it is going to be really, really tight. So now, as a player, you guys have to decide who should you pull. Alright, so in my opinion, the first thing that you have to worry about for now is going to be New Year Fuuka. She is going to be probably the most prominent one. If you don't care about her or if you already own her, then you might want to look into Dress Aru. And if not, then definitely start saving for Hikari and Nozomi. So yeah, that's gonna be it for the roadmap for now, up until the Shupogaki twins. Hopefully you guys can see from the meta perspective and try to plan accordingly. Try your best to plan your pyroxenes and try not to be greedy, right? And now, later today, there's going to be a specific fast announcement for the JP server. I'll be watching it live if you guys are interested. Feel free to tune in on my Twitch channel as per usual, right? That's going to be how it is. I'll be live right there watching the entire thing. Hopefully We're gonna post it. If you guys can't watch it live, feel free to follow me on my Twitter account. I'll try to post it afterwards to keep you guys updated. If you guys are trying to plan accordingly to the reruns as well, that could be a good idea to try to look into, right? So with that being said, that's gonna be it for this particular video. Subscribe if you guys haven't already. Give this video a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a nice day. Goodbye.